Welcome to Retrologic. I'm Dan Caparello here with John Cummins. And this week we've got lots of neato thingos to talk about. We're going to talk about we've got 4 lists for Prices Retro because we have 2 guest lists. What is it called? Community member lists? I haven't come up with a clever name for it yet, but there's 4 of them because between John and I and the 2 that we have from guests. We're going to finish up our crossplay discussions about Castlevania and Pokemon Snap. We're going to talk about Yoshi's story. We're going to talk about Pokemon and Panzer Dragoon. And John, how are you, man?
Doing great.
He's here. I always try to hit you early in the introduction now because otherwise I just skip over you as if I'm the only one here. It's it's a problem.
You just work on it. Talk at me and come around to me eventually.
You're a good sounding board.
Bounce things off.
Yeah, exactly. So Retrologic isn't just a podcast, though. It's also a retro game store. You can visit Retrologic.games to check out our growing inventory of cleaned, tested, and authentic retro games. So, John, what did you buy this week? You got a few things here.
Yeah, a little bit less than last week. So I was shopping
It's a good thing, though.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I go a little overboard. But I went back to the local. They were doing their redo President's sale. I guess they didn't make enough money the first week, but they had it, so they were doing it again. And excuse me, they do when they do that sale, they do like a buy 2, get 1 free on used games.
Mm-hmm.
So they had 3 Prince of Persia games for the PSP, so I bought all 3 and got one of them for free. And those are Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, Prince of Persia, The Rival Swords, Prince of Persia Revelations. There wasn't really a whole lot. I almost bought the collector's edition Zelda game for the GameCube, the one that has Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Zelda 1, and Zelda 2. Yeah, they had one there. Asking for it. $70. But I didn't buy.
Yeah, that's a little high, but that's pretty good for a retro store, I think.
It was original case and artwork, but didn't have the manual, so I didn't go on it.
Did it have a manual? Because that was just a promotional item.
Yeah, it has a manual.
Have a manual? Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it does. I've seen some listings on there, and I'm pretty sure it has a manual. Okay. I mean, they made a player's guide for it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess they probably had a manual. They didn't just not print manuals back then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I seen that, and then I also almost bought another sealed copy of Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U. They had one for, I think it was about $55. And it's the one with the amiibo in it.
Yep, go back and buy that.
Yeah,
because
I probably need to.
That's a pretty, buy me one.
Yeah, I think it's like $100-some right now, isn't it, for the one with the amiibo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just going to go up too.
I might go back and grab that. I might open that one though. I already have a sealed one. I didn't buy just the game, so I only have the collector's edition. I never opened it, so I either buy this
another way.
I haven't played the HD version, no.
Oh man, that's the way to play Twilight Princess. It's so good.
Well, I know as soon as I buy that collector's edition and rip it open, they're gonna put it on the Switch, and then I'll be like, man, I just bought this.
Yeah, and then the price might go down.
Yeah, I might be one of those people that are complaining about how the Switch version is $60 when I just paid $55 for a sealed copy of the Wii U version.
Yeah, right. I'm sure you could still make your money back, though. I mean, that sealed games don't go down that much.
Well, it wouldn't be sealed anymore.
There's still collectors that want them. That's true, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I also picked up, not retro here, but Bravely Default 2 came out. And I wanted to play it over the weekend, but I was out of town and my copy was late. Best Buy didn't get it to my house until Saturday. So I had to have the old neighbor grab my packages for me and keep them safe. So I haven't even got to start it up yet.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that'll be next or this week. I'll be getting to it and going through that one. And one last thing on the list, I've already showed it off in Discord, but I bought a Sega Genesis slot. It's a version 2 console. It came with 7 games. Well, it came with one of the games was the 6-pack that has 6 games in it. And
oh yeah, that's a good little deal there.
Yeah, it has like Shinobi and the Streets of Rage 1 and I think Sonic the Hedgehog, the original game, and there's a few other ones on there. But it also came with Streets of Rage 2, Altered Beast, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, X-Men, some Power Rangers game, and there's a couple others. It came with 7 games. One of them was that 6-pack, so I think I'm missing a game. But so I go to plug it all up, make sure it works. Fires up on like first try. Everything's going great. I hop into NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and the only thing I can do is pass the ball. I was like, what the heck is going on?
Dude.
Yeah, so I'm messing around with it, and I have a little joystick that I have too. It's like a quick shot. So I plug it in, and I'm like, all right, let's try this out again. Maybe the controller's bad. Because I bought it used. I don't have any idea. So I go to play. This time I can only shoot the ball. The other buttons are not working. So I go plug the control pad back in, and then again I can only shoot the ball. So I've got something going on with the controller port on the system, and ripped it open and noticed a bunch of corrosion on the pins. The soldering looks
shoot.
Yeah, the soldering looks fine, but I'll probably take it out and clean it anyway and put it back in because it's just going to be a lot easier to clean that with it not on the board. Right, so I'm just going to dunk it in and get all the stupid buildup off of it. I think that's what's the major problem on it. One thing I did notice, not owning a Sega as a kid, the build quality of the Sega Genesis is like half of that of a Nintendo console. The thing is so weird,
you have
clunky.
Yeah, you have a Genesis 2 also, which was a little like flimsy-ish.
Yeah, it feels like you push the power button down and it just feels like it's so lightweight. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like,
I will say
the controllers in.
I will say the build quality of the Genesis 1 is a bit better, for sure.
Yeah, like putting those controllers in is it's no wonder that people have problems with those ports. Like, it's not an easy deal. Like, it's not smooth like when you go to plug in an NES or a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a little wiggly.
It's like butter.
Yeah.
No. Well, mine are tight. Super tight. I was like I thought I was going to break the system trying to get them in there. And it's all that corrosion, but I can't imagine they loosen up a whole lot once I clean that up. Are yours loose, like the wiggly?
They're not like wiggly, but they're not tight. They're not like super tight. I don't feel like I'm breaking something when I plug into it.
Yeah, that's got to be at the main problem is all the corrosion on the pins where you put the controller plug in at. Other than that, it's super clean. Like, the whole thing looks fantastic. I opened it up and the board looks really good. The heat shield's got no rust on it. I mean, that's great. Super nice. But yeah, so it's going to be a little bit. I'm going to have to clean up everything before I can hop into some Genesis games.
Somebody just sneezed on the controller ports one time, and that was it. That was all it took. Yeah,
somebody spilled something on it probably. I don't know. I hear that's the number one problem with Genesis is those ports. You either need to clean the cartridge slot or you need to clean your ports. That's the number ones. Number 1 and 2, I guess. Can only be one number 1.
There's one number 1.
So,
and what's your number 1 game that you played this week, John?
So I bought Ogre Battle 64. It's had to have been like what, a month and a half, 2 months ago. I haven't even had time to play it. So this week I sat down and I was like, I'm going to play this game because it's been a long time since I played through it. Man, I played the first chapter and it all just came right back. Like I remembered exactly what to do. Went right through, remembered everything. Even remembered that there were some hidden items in some of the areas. It just feels good. Feels good to go back to it. The character not customization like to the character itself, but just the being able to move your characters around on the boards and take advantage of attack multipliers based on where they're at. It's a 3x3 grid, and you have the front layer, medium, and the back. Like, so if you put your archers to the back, they will attack twice for so much damage. You put them to the front too, they only attack once. Same way with soldiers. If they're in the back, they only attack once, but if they're in the front, they attack twice. So there's just different advantages to having different characters on different parts of the grid.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I miss this game.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to jump into it at some point. It's on the Wii U Virtual Console. Maybe if they announce that they're shutting the Wii U down, I'll probably pick it up. I'll probably never try to pick up the actual cartridge because it's pretty...
it just keeps going up.
Yeah.
It just keeps on going. But the Wii U one's only $10. So anybody that hasn't played it and is an RPG, or it's more RPG than tactic, but it has some tactic elements to it. But if anybody's fans of those, go play it. It's a true gem. For
sure.
So what are you picking up and playing?
Yeah, this was kind of an interesting week for me because I was in San Diego all last week visiting my sister, and they've got some pretty killer retro shops around the area there. So I took a day, drove myself around to do some pickups, check out the stores, the scene, as it were. And I got just a bunch of random stuff, really, and I didn't spend too much on anything in particular. Just kind of picked up stuff that I had been looking for or I thought was cool that was not super expensive. Finally got an SNES mouse that apparently works. Haven't tested it out yet. I need to do that. But if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, the legacy of me trying to find a working SNES mouse has been not so successful. But, third time's a charm, right?
Gotta make sure you wash your mouse balls.
Yeah, you gotta wash your mouse balls. Make sure you do it. And that came with the mouse pad too. It had the mouse, the pad, and Mario Paint. Mario Paint is a throwaway SNES game, but I'll sell it and make a little bit of my money back.
How dare you?
I got whatever. I'm not saying the game itself is bad. I'm saying it's a coaster for the cost of the cartridge. It's it's not worth it.
Mario Paint.
I already had 2 copies of it, and then I just got this third one, so I don't need them.
Well, send it my way because I don't have a copy right now.
You do? All right.
I don't have Mario Paint.
Yeah, in the next care package you get, that'll be it.
And now I'll be in the hunt for a stupid working mouse.
Yeah. $20. $20 is the rate for a working mouse. So it's not too bad, but it's just, it's an accessory. So it's like,
I got to have the mouse pad too, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Also picked up Stimpy's Invention for the Sega Genesis. That's just a game from my childhood that I loved. Adam and I used to play all the time. I got this really weird, not that weird actually, but it's the Diddy Kong Racing VHS tape, promo tape thing. I want to hook up a VCR and do like a live stream of it on Twitch because these like late 90s VHS promo tapes are so wacky. Like they're so fun. And I really want to do that. So we'll see if I can get a VCR out here and hook it up.
I think I have like 4 of those tapes.
I know. Oh, you do?
I have that one you're talking about. I also have the Donkey Kong Country one for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, I need that one. That's the one I need. I gotta find it.
I have one that did Jet Force Gemini and Donkey Kong 64. And then I also have one for Star Fox 64.
Man, dude.
Which are all the ones that you would want.
Right, basically. I got to get the Donkey Kong Country one. I remember that one. That one made me buy the game. I got a Bomberman 64 player's guide so I can beat the adventure mode in that game because it was like $5. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely doing that.
Nice.
And that was most of, Alien Syndrome for this Master System. Picked that up. And I think that was about it for pickups. Again, not a ton of stuff, nothing super expensive, but just some cool stuff.
Did you figure anything on those games?
The Ooze for Sega Genesis. What do you mean?
Those Super Nintendo games you picked up, they looked funky.
No, I haven't done those yet. Yeah, I barely got back in the man cave to organize everything back because everything was still in storage from the freeze from 2 weeks ago. So, and then I left town, so I hadn't had any time in here. So I'm gonna have to spend some major time in here this week to try to test out those games, test out the mouse, do a bunch of stuff. I have done a ton of stuff to put up on the store. Everything's all backed up, so just got to get some time, you know. And you know where I could find some time.
Yeah, no, I need that myself.
And then a couple of the packages that I had ordered before the freeze, that were all backed up, finally came in. And that was Grandia 2, like one of my favorite RPGs of all time. And finally picked up a copy of Paper Mario Origami King for the Switch. Everybody said it was amazing. And I'm like, all right, I'll give Paper Mario another try. So we're going to see how that goes. And I played nothing. Played nothing this week. Did not play a thing. It's just how it goes sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes you get more games than you play.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much our life.
That's every time for me.
Yeah. And then later this week, actually, no, sorry. The Banjo amiibo doesn't come out till later this month. I was going to say this week, but
the Banjo emoji.
I jumped the gun. Emoji. Yeah. Let's do that. That's
when are
great.
when are we getting that Banjo emoji?
I'll throw it in Discord. Those are easy to upload. I'll do it as soon as I get my amiibo. I'll do it. Let's do this big fat Prices Retro we've got sitting here. All right, so this is your first time listening to the show. I'm going to explain how this works. This is our game, and what I'm going to do is list off 3 or 4 games. And what you have to do is you have to guess the price charting current value of those games. I'm going to give you the game, the condition, and the system it's for, and you have to guess what the entire lot of games is worth once I'm done listing them. And we go around in circles, and we go around in a circle, a singular circle, and whoever is the closest to the actual price wins the game. And this week I've got not one, I've got 2 community member lists to go through. So we're gonna have 4 lists. Is your spreadsheet compatible with 4 lists there, John?
Sure is.
Yeah. Math whiz over here. All right, so we're gonna do your and my lists first, and then we'll do the guest lists.
Okay.
We'll see who can reign supreme this time. This is gonna be an interesting show.
You want to go
John,
first?
why don't you start?
Me?
Why don't you start this week? Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. So, the first game on my list is RC Pro AM for the NES Complete.
Complete.
The second game, these are all complete. I went all completes this time.
Oh, great. Thank you.
The second game is Battletoads and Double Dragon for the Game Boy Complete.
I hate you with the completes.
The third game is Killer Instinct for the SNES Complete.
Okay.
And the fourth game is Banjo-Tooie for the N64 Complete.
Okay, my list is, I'm going to go ahead and say $370.
All right. And
All right.
you're pretty close. The total value of my list is $335.
All right. I feel like you went a little easy on me this week. I feel like you went a little easy on me.
I had a little the theme for this week. I've been doing developer themes.
Mm-hmm. So you did rare this week then. Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Good. All right. Happy of myself to get close on one of your lists. There were no Sega Saturn games, so that's probably why that happened.
Yeah. Or Virtual Boy.
All right.
I've got to do some Virtual Boy games.
And and then so I'm gonna start to catch on. So, I've got a theme this week too. It's pretty easy to pick up on. I've got Double Dragon for the Sega Master System, complete. Dragon's Fury for the Sega Genesis, complete. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure for the Game Boy Advance, complete. Actually, all mine are complete in box too. So what am I complaining about? Dragon Force for the Sega Saturn, complete.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of had an idea until you threw that one in there.
Do you want to get a lifeline for Dragon Force?
Oh no, it's fine.
Are you sure? I've done that before.
Well, what is Dragon Force? What type of game?
Okay. Dragon
I don't
Force.
think with Sega Saturn it matters.
Right. Dragon Force is a kind of a tactics RPG-ish thing. We'll just say it's an RPG.
Okay. Well, that means it's probably high dollar.
Wait a second. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to figure it out now because I actually have not played it. Okay, it's a real-time strategy tactics role-playing game.
Okay. So you said, hold on a minute. Sorry, we've been on this Sega Saturn game. I forgot what the other ones were for a minute.
Oh yeah, you want me to list them off again?
Yeah, go. Yeah, just rapid fire real quick.
All right, we'll run through it again. We got Double Dragon for the Master System, complete. Dragon's Fury for the Sega Genesis, complete. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure for the Game Boy Advance, complete. And Dragon Force for the Sega Saturn, complete.
Let's go ahead and say $375.
All right. Actual value is $463. I'm actually surprised you got as close as you did. You're under $100 away. And yeah, that Dragon Force game is like one of the only Sega Saturn games I actually like kind of know what it is, kind of.
Yeah, I've never even
had
heard
a
of
little
it.
bit of experience with.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it, just mentioned, but I don't know that I've ever seen any gameplay or anything. That's why I had no idea what it was.
It had been a long time for me, and I like saw it listed when I searched for Dragon in price charting. So I was like, okay, I'll throw that in there.
Oh, so the dragon theme here?
Yeah.
I was going to say I was like trying to figure out what other thing it could be, but it had to be dragons.
That's it. They're all dragons. Mine are pretty obvious.
All
if you hadn't
dragons.
figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a fun little thing.
Nope.
You could do you could do that next time is we could throw in an extra bonus points for obscure themes.
I'll have to invite Sam back on.
Let me pull up our first guest community member list, and this list is 6 games. It comes to us from Flighty in our Discord. Good old Philip. And his theme or his title is Welcome to Dreamland. We have aliens. So,
oh, it's Kirby themed.
the first game, you know Philip. If he's on, it's going to be Kirby themed. That's just he's our resident Kirby expert. And Pikmin. So game 1 is Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy, complete in box. Game 2 is Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy, complete in box. Game 3, oh boy, Volume 72 of Nintendo Power, Kirby's Dream Land 2 cover. Kirby's Dream Land 3 for Super Nintendo, complete in box. Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance, complete in box. And Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the Nintendo Wii, complete in box. Now, I'm going to write down my prices here because, yeesh, that's quite the list. Okay, so I'm going to run through them again. We've got Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy, complete in box. Kirby's Dream Land 2 for Game Boy complete in box. The Nintendo Power issue with Kirby's Dream Land on the cover, which is volume 72. Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo complete in box. Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance complete in box. Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the Wii complete in box also. And then I'm going to get my calculator out. Do you have a number yet, John?
I think so. And I might be a little bit off, but I'm thinking...
I think we're both going to be a little bit off.
I'm thinking 425.
Okay. I went a little over you. I'm at 550 for my guess.
Okay. So hold on a second. Okay, so I said 425. And you said
550.
550.
So.
All right.
The total for these games, oh my gosh. Okay. Total for these games is $624.
Jeez.
Yow. Wow. Where did I go wrong? Yeesh. Okay, here are the prices for these games. I've got Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy complete is $66. Kirby's Dream Land 2 complete is $130.
Oh, geez.
The Nintendo Power. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The Nintendo Power issue is $7. Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo got me $328.
Yeah, those all got me.
Yeah. Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland was $54, and Kirby's Return to Dreamland is $36. I was tracking with him pretty well until Dreamland 3, and then I fell off. I was way under on that one.
2 and 3 threw me. I had a pretty good idea about the other ones.
Really great.
I only put the Dreamland 3 at about $100, which is why I'm $200 off.
It's a Super Nintendo game complete in box, dude. It's a first-party Super Nintendo game complete in box. I guessed $250, and I was still low. So, really great list there, Philip. Thank you for that. That was a challenge. That was quite the challenge, and I appreciated it.
Yeah.
Next, let's hop over to our next list, which comes to us from Chris HL94. Busting it out with the lists. Okay, let's see what we got here.
NHL 94, right? First game.
I'm sorry. Oh, well. I guess we'll see. Hang on, let me just make sure this is right. Okay, I got it. Good. Okay. First game is... Oh, no, we're good. No NHL, at least not at first. Bases Loaded 2, second season for the NES, complete in box.
Okay.
RBI Baseball for the NES, complete in box. Bad News Baseball for the NES, loose. And Base Wars for the NES, loose. Man. I like Chris's list because he always does sports games, so they're all super low.
Yeah,
or at least I think they are. Yeah.
Well, he's got a few complete in boxes in there, so they're going to be
a little higher,
a little bit higher, not crazy high, but
yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do my guess first, which is $75.
Okay, I was thinking 90. So,
all right, pretty close on this one. Let's see what we got. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, he forgot to give me a total, so I'm going to do that math really quick. You know what? I'll just tell you while I'm doing it. So, Bases Loaded 2, second season for the NES is worth $18. RBI Baseball for the NES complete is worth $16.
Oh gosh.
Bad News Baseball for the NES loose is $10. And Base Wars for the NES complete is $27 with a total price of $71. Wow.
You were right. You were on it tonight.
Man, I am on tonight, dude. I told you. Oh, he did give me the total. I'm sorry, Chris. I missed it down lower in the chat. He gave me the total. And I was right about it. Wow. You know, if you want to collect boxed NES games, sports games is the way to go. I'm just saying. Thank you, Chris, for that list. Thank you for keeping it different, keeping it fresh for us. I really appreciate it. John, by how much of a margin did I beat you today?
So, yeah, you beat me pretty good this week. I was at 306 and you were at 113. So, I mean, you held it almost within $100.
Nice,
yeah, that first Flighty's killed me.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Flighty.
I was on track with you until that one. Yeah.
Thank you for ending the streak.
I was $200 off on his.
Dang.
So that's pretty bad.
Dang, dang, dang. Well, he got you, man.
He did.
That's the thing, though, right? Like this game, it's like you can have a pretty good idea of what games are worth, and then somebody will just throw something at you that you're just like out of left field.
You never even heard of it.
Yeah. That's why you have to ask for a genre sometimes, because you just never know. We didn't do our individual prices for our games, so let's do that super quick, and then we will move on. You went first, so why don't you go first with your individual prices, just to appease my curiosity.
Alrighty. So first game on my list, RC Pro AM for the NES complete is $22. The second game, Battletoads and Double Dragon for the Game Boy complete is $137. The third game on the list, Killer Instinct for the SNES complete, $57. And the last game, Banjo-Tooie for the N64 complete, $119.
Man, I guess 200 on Banjo-Tooie because that's a game. That's an expensive one.
Should have been guessing that on Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know why I went lower on Battletoads. I think I've been looking at the Super Nintendo game, which is pretty inexpensive, but I forgot that the NES version is like nobody bought it because the Super Nintendo was already out at that point.
No, the Game Boy ones they're pretty high dollar for some of those.
Yeah. All right, so my list is Double Dragon for the Sega Master System. Not an expensive game, $18 complete. Dragon's Fury for the Sega Genesis, pricey for a Genesis game, $48 complete. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure for the Game Boy Advanced, $131 for some reason. And and Dragon Force for Sega Saturn complete is a $266 game. Yow. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I don't have that game.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't have any Saturn games.
Exactly.
Never will. Yeah. Probably not.
NASCAR 99, $100.
I win the lottery, maybe. So that was Prices Retro. Thank you guys for playing with us. If you want to submit a list and have us guess the price live, sort of. We're not live. We're pre-recorded. Pre-recorded on the air. You can hit me up on Twitter at Retrologic.games or in the Discord, and I will give you the instructions on how to give that to me, because there is a little bit of a process to it to make sure that integrity is upheld, John. Now,
that's right.
Got a couple weekly topics to talk about. First things first is this is our last week of these games for crossplay. Thank God. John, I'm going to go first. Because,
I was going to say, I watched I didn't watch your stream, but I peeked in to see, and it showed you were doing, did you do Sonic again tonight? Or did you just not change your title?
I did change the title, but sometimes it doesn't take. No, I played Castlevania tonight.
Okay, I was going to say, did you play for 25 minutes and hop back into Sonic?
No. Let me tell you a little story about what happened tonight in Castlevania and why this game is ridiculous and I don't like it. I was stuck at this one place in the game where you have Medusa heads coming at you, which kind of do this wave form, and the shield guys that throw the axes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Shield
guys throw the axes. They take 8 or 9 hits to kill, and they're boomerang axes, so they come out and he catches them. And you can get rid of them with your whip. That's fine. This one room that had both of those things going on at the same time. And I was in that room banging my head against a wall for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of the entire stream was that one part, John. That one part of that one level. Thank God for save states, but I mean, it was agonizing.
There's no rewind, is there?
Chat was silent. No rewind. Honestly, I had saved right before that, so rewind wouldn't have helped me. Okay, so I eventually got past it, right? I eventually get past it. I beat the second one. We're at the final boss. Not final boss of the game. We're at the boss of the level, which is the 5th world of Castlevania. So this is Grim Reaper. This is death. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, like, I have the holy water. Chat, help me. Like, how do I beat death? And I tried a couple times to like run around or whatever. And his little flying scythes just kill me instantly. I'm like, okay, I only have like 2 hits before I die. And chat goes, no, just, you know where he's going to spawn. So just spam holy water on that spot and he'll die. And he won't even, you'll have no problem. And I'm like, what? That's not a boss battle. What are you guys talking about? So I try it. My first try doing this like little cheat, and he's dead. Completely dies. Never summons the flying scythes, like never moves around, just stays in that spot and just takes every hit that I give him.
Well, that's why they told you to like save the holy water.
Yeah. But here's, and like, that's fine, right? Like, yay, I beat the boss. That's fine. Here's my problem is why did a random hallway in this game caused me so much grief and the final boss was such a pushover?
Well, I mean, that took somebody a long time to develop that, strategy to do that. If somebody was fighting him outright without using the holy water, he's very difficult.
Oh, I know. I tried for a couple tries and I was like, no, this is impossible. What the heck? And like, I know that's not like, I don't know if that's like the way you're supposed to do it. Like or if it's a hack or if it's like poorly programmed. I don't know what the story is there. All I know is that I don't really like this game. I appreciate that it's the foundation for a series that has given us some of the greatest games ever made. This game in particular, I will never play again. Never. By choice. I by choice will never play it again. If somebody's like challenging me or whatever, like maybe I'll jump into it, but I swear to you, I didn't even beat it. I didn't get to the final boss. I stopped after death and I was like, nope, I got this far. Now let's look at some Sega Master System games on stream because I also do that on stream. It's really fun. I'm super done. So my review of this game is don't bother. If you've never played it, just don't. You're fine. Just play Castlevania 3. I hear that one's way better. So please don't make me do that again.
I remember playing it as a kid and I never could get past death. I didn't know about the holy water and just kind of got stuck there forever. It wasn't until way later that I made it through it. And I still don't know that I ever actually beat Dracula. Because Dracula's a whole nother problem. Can't just do the holy water trick on him.
There's a part of me that's like, man, I kind of want to beat it since I'm so close. But I'm not just not going to. I out of spite will not I will not play this game any more than I absolutely have to. I promised everybody that I would play it for a solid hour tonight, and I did, and I'm proud of myself, but I'm never going back to it. It's agonizing.
I've seen people beat Dracula, and there's like a certain pattern like that you have to basically use to defeat him. Mm-hmm. And even watching like several people do it, I've never been able to completely replicate that fight pattern to pull it off, because I don't know, it feels more random than that to me, but watching other people do it, it seems normal, but I don't know, it's just different. But no, it's definitely a game that the appreciation of it is from early on, like people that started with it. Definitely if you're from the outside looking in, like, you know, obviously 35 years later, you know, or so, going back to it, it's probably not going to hold up as well, but you definitely do get some of the better games later.
Yeah, I can definitely see the appeal from like an aesthetic perspective. It certainly sets a mood. Yeah, it's beautiful for an NES game. The music is top notch. Just the setting and the artwork is really good. So I can see from a nostalgia perspective why people would be obsessed with this game. And the fact that it spawned such a legacy. Awesome. Like, that's so cool from an archivist perspective. So cool. Actually sitting down to play it, I don't want to. Not going to do it.
I'm sure when we were kids,
I'm done.
They had a Game Genie for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, big time.
You could probably play with, like, you know, unlimited lives and whatever, you know, unlimited health.
I wouldn't want to play with unlimited lives.
Holy water.
I would want to play with invincibility always on. That's the only way I would play that game again. Because I basically have unlimited lives. I have save states. And it was still impossible. So, yeah. I'm done talking about Castlevania now for forever, for a while. What's the next game I should play in the series? Should I just go to 2? Because I hear 2's no fun.
Well, 2's still fun. It's just different. It's not. It's more. Let's see how to. It's not like the Metroidvania, or it's not. It's kind of the beginning roots of where there's more exploration, and it's a lot less linear. It's like you have to go back and do some things. It seemed like when Konami was going about these games, they were trying to build upon and like change up pretty regularly. Because I mean, 3 is even a totally different game. Like you could play with multiple characters in that game. But 2's not bad. It's just different. And I think it caught a bad rap early on because people wanted more Castlevania, like the original game. It's kind of like Super Mario Brothers 2. You know, you play the first one, you're like, man, this is awesome. And then you get the second one, you're like, this is a Mario. And I have a feeling that, we were too young to really get into Castlevania when it came out. You know, obviously, we would have been like a year or 2 years old. But I imagine the clamoring for more Castlevania when it originally came out, and then they put the second one out, and everybody was like, nah. That's how I look back at it. But then by the time the third game came out, like the third game is the best one in the original run.
Okay.
On the NES.
Because I have the collection on Switch now, so I'm like...
Yes. Well, have you played the Bloodstain Curse of the Moon?
No.
It's
because I had no experience with Castlevania at all, so I had no affinity for what it was. Now I might.
Well, next time they're on sale, you need to grab them because the first game, well, they're both very much like the third Castlevania game, where you can switch characters. Each characters do different things, and it has almost the exact same feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good.
Awesome.
I can recommend those. The actual Bloodstain game, like the one for the newer consoles, well, I guess they're all there. the not the 60 or the not the 8-bit game, but the newer games.
Right. The actual game.
I couldn't make it through that game. Like I tried and I couldn't force my way through. So, the 8-bit ones were better for me. I liked those.
Oh, wow.
But definitely, yeah, pick those up if you haven't played them. And since you have 3 on the collection, you might try it out whenever you got spare time.
I have a morbid curiosity about the rest of this series, so it may be something that I slowly get through.
But you've played 4, haven't you?
No. I'm telling you, I haven't played any Castlevania. None of it. Not one of them. Like, for longer than 5 seconds.
I think one of the Nintendo dads, when they were still doing Retro Rewind, they did 4, didn't they?
Yeah, but I didn't play it.
Yeah, I see.
I don't know, dude. I don't play everything that's assigned to me. I just play what I want sometimes.
I know.
Speaking of playing what I want, John, tell me how good Pokemon Snap is again. I just want to hear it from your mouth.
Pokemon Snap is pretty good. The only gripe I have about it is just how many stinking times you have to replay the same level and how slow that thing creeps. Like I know you want it to be slow to be able to get the pictures. But I think it would have benefited more from like a way to completely stop it or accelerate at, I mean, I know there is. You can accelerate later, but I don't think there's a way to ever stop it completely, is there?
No, you can slow down, but you can't stop it.
Yeah. So anyway, I like the way the game is laid out. I like the on rails part. But there were just certain things like it almost feels like like you just have to keep going back. Like you'll unlock certain parts and you're like, oh, go back to the first stage and roll through there several times to get the Pokemon. Like when you get the flute and you can wake up the Snorlax. And I mean, there's just some, I don't know. It's very repetitive. It's not a very long game either, but I do appreciate how different it was for the N64. I mean, really, there's no other games like it that I could think of off the top of my head. It was definitely a brand new idea, and it was a very good looking game for that time. It's not terrible now, but the new one looks really good, and I'm excited to play the new one.
Yeah, and it's part of I think part of the reason why I love Pokemon Snap, and I think I've said this before, it's kind of like the dream of like what I wish an actual Pokemon game would look like. When I say that, I mean like the animations of the Pokemon make sense for the surroundings. They're reacting to things. They are animated well. They're interacting with each other. Whereas you play Sword and Shield and you're like, oh, like this looks pretty. And then you see Gyarados swimming in the water and there's no like turning animation for him. So his whole giant body just like pivots 90 degrees or 40 degrees. And you're like, oh, that's off-putting. You know what I mean? And the Pokemon don't interact with each other at all in that game. So when I play Pokemon Snap, I'm just happy to see digital Pokemon that like are actually animated as if they were real things and not just pieces of software.
But yeah, it was more like the TV show.
Yes, exactly.
Like they had meaning. They weren't just there for you to catch them.
That always kind of bothered me about newer Pokemon games and I mean, Game Freak is limited to their ability to draw and animate 800 of these creatures now. You know what I mean?
Well, and they're also handheld developers, and they're not used to working on robust, projects that are for newer, are for console. Like all their console efforts have always been very minimal as far as like scope. So like, even Stadium was basically just a battler game that just had 3D Pokemon animations.
Yeah,
It wasn't
and
like
I
a
didn't
big
love
open
that.
world 3D game. Yeah.
I actually liked the mini games in Pokemon Stadium better than anything else in the rest of the game.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. No, those were fantastic.
yeah.
You know what I used Pokemon Stadium for? To play my Game Boy game in fast forward speed. That's what Pokemon Stadium was. It's like, oh, transfer pack. Now I can play 3 times speed. That's what it was for. Ain't on a TV.
So that's why I think Pokemon Stadium, and the thing that you're saying annoys you about Pokemon Stadium, where you have to like kind of go back and replay the levels, that's actually something that I like about it. Is I enjoy the gameplay loop of take a bunch of pictures, get points, unlock an ability, go back to the level, use that new ability to get new pictures, get more points, unlock a new level, use all your abilities in that level to get the pictures. Then get a new ability, go back to the first level, use the new ability. I love that gameplay loop. So I don't know.
I think I wish the levels just changed a little bit more. Like,
yeah,
there's like, I wish it was like, oh, get this item and it unlocks this area of the level that you didn't play before, instead of
I can't confirm this. Yeah, I can't confirm this, but in the new Pokemon Snap trailer, to me, it appeared that you'd be able to you traverse the same level at different like times of day, and that would change what Pokemon were there.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
I don't imagine they're going to change up the gameplay loop at all. So you might still be stuck playing the same level over and over again. But you were right about
Pokemon.
that. The animations and the art style of the new Pokemon Snap game look like exactly what I want. I want an HD Pokemon Snap, and that's exactly what it is. So I'm also incredibly hype to play it.
Yeah, the last trailer
at the end of April. It's coming for my birthday. Ah! My birthday's April 19th, so that's
the last trailer they showed. Like, it looked pretty much exactly like Pokemon Snap on 64, just with better graphics. Like,
yeah,
it's almost identical.
Which, like, that's all I want. Like, literally, that's all I want. So,
and like I said, I hope that I don't mind playing the same level, but like, it's kind of like other games where, like, or even Metroid, you go back to the same area and then something else unlocks and you go check that out. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily just the exact same level. Like, it's like, oh, you get like I said, you unlock an item that you use, you unlock the Poke Flute and you can wake up Snorlax. It's like, oh, it's the same exact level. I just woke him up now so I can take a picture of him. Like, I want to do something different inside the level, I guess. But I'm also asking a lot.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of my favorite moments in Pokemon Snap. Oh man, I don't remember specifically. I think it's on the river level where you're going through the river level and you do it a few times and then you're like, man, why aren't I unlocking the next level? And then at some point you discover that like there's a wall with like rocks and you can break the wall and the wall comes down and now you're like, oh, you unlock the cave. Or you unlocked, you know what I mean? You unlock this next level. And there's just something so cool to me about that part of Pokemon Snap where it was like, to me, the levels almost have to be the same thing over and over again so that you learn all the patterns to be able to get all the pictures. You know, if they change it too much, then it almost becomes like a random encounter kind of thing. Which it's not. It's a skill-based game. Yeah.
I think I'd almost prefer a random encounter, but
oh, really?
That's definitely not going to happen on the N64. No.
Well, that also, I think that kind of messes with the point of the game in a way, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but to me that is more of a feel to it. Like, that's what I would want out of a Pokemon photography game. Like, they're doing random stuff, and you catch them doing it. Not, you roll through this level, like, I know exactly when this Pikachu is going to jump on this electrode and roll around, and you catch the same picture every time for quite a while.
True. Yeah.
Just try to get a better version of it.
I get you.
But
that I want to play Pokemon Snap again. I'm gonna pop it out and play it here now because I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah. Overall, I did enjoy the game, but I didn't I wasn't totally blown away by it. Like, I know that I probably will be with the new game. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I'm playing it, 2 decades later.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's the thing too, is I'm looking at it through nostalgia goggles, and back in the day I was blown away by it, and I play it now and I'm still blown away by it. So it's just,
Yep. But yeah, no, definitely looking forward to the new one, and did enjoy the core mechanics of the game. Just wanted a little bit more variety.
Yeah, for sure. Good. Well, John, it's the beginning of a new month, and you know what that means.
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, I hope that you're not. Okay, let's just say this. Your pick for me last month has inspired me to give you the pick for this month. And so this month, what I'm going to give you, the gift of, John, is playing Metroid Prime 2 Echoes?
Yeah, Echoes.
Yeah. So, so you enjoy that. You just have a great time playing Metroid Prime 2 on the GameCube. Just, that's all I'll say.
Oh, man. I might have to refresh a little bit with the original game.
No, it's fine. You could just jump in. You got it. I believe in you. I believe in you, John.
All right. So let's give you some of your favorite sauce. Why don't you play Star Fox 2?
Oh, all right. You got it. I'm ready.
Let's take a break from my favorite games. Let's go back to yours.
Yes, thank you. Also, thank you for keeping track on our spreadsheet what we've played. I need to add games that I've gotten to this list. I'm going to do that after our show tonight. But but I like doing this. I think this is a great way for you and me to both kind of get through these games, have some fun, talk about them. I love it. Let's keep doing it. Give me an excuse to play games I wouldn't normally play. So, John, this month is going to have the privilege of playing the second Metroid Prime game, which, in all honesty, is a solid game. Like, top notch, as good as the original. Just very, very hard for some weird reason. I don't understand it. You're welcome to use a guide. I love you. I'm sorry.
I have a guide.
Good. Yes. Use the guide. And I will be playing Star Fox 2, which I'm hype about. I love Star Fox. I love the Super Nintendo Star Fox. I love all the Star Foxes. Don't love Zero Super a lot, but it is Star Fox, and I love the character. So, Star Fox 2, here we come. Awesome. Maybe you guys will play with us if you're listening and you want to play with us, and you've never played one of them before, and you want to jump in. We'll be sharing our thoughts on the podcast throughout the month, as well as on our Discord, and probably me on Twitter also quite a bit. So that's that. So next up, we have what is happening this day in gaming history, John. And we only have one game this week. Why don't you jump in and introduce what we've got?
So 23 years ago today, March 1st, 1998, for the N64, we got Yoshi's Story. A game that probably nobody our age played.
Oh, I played
when it came out. Oh, you played? I played this. I played this game, but it was definitely later. And because I was, by the time this came out, I was too busy playing too much GoldenEye and like things like that. It wasn't really that interested in Yoshi's Story.
I did. I was kind of both. Like we played tons of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Smash Brothers and all that stuff. But and Turok, tons of Turok. But I was still a Nintendo kid. You know, if Mario or Donkey Kong or Yoshi was in it, I was gonna play it, or Star Fox. And I don't know how you feel about Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo. Yoshi's Island.
I like Yoshi's Island.
Yeah,
but this was probably not Yoshi's
one of
Island.
My favorite. It's probably one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. I know. I'm setting it up, right? I'm setting it up. So we played Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo, and that game was amazing. Like probably one of the best platformers of all time, in my opinion. Like solid from top to bottom. Tons of new ideas, tons of stuff going on. So the sequel, Yoshi's Story for the N64. It's a side scroller. It looks like the same game with better graphics. Awesome. I'm in. I don't know how else to say this, but Yoshi's Story is a baby game. It's a game for babies. It's not difficult. There's no like challenge to speak of in the game. I like what they did with the game mechanically. Like I like the whole like collect a bunch of different fruits in your level, and the more fruits you get, the better score you get. I like that whole thing. I like the animation. It's a pretty game. But like they just kind of lost the like platforming inspiration for Yoshi's Story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not the platformer that it once was as Yoshi's Island. Most of the levels that I remember, they don't let you like do a whole lot. Like it's in caves and like just different stuff. I mean, I didn't play through the whole game. This is one that I picked up in a lot of N64 games that I got because I never played it as a kid. It wasn't really what I was looking for when it came out, so I didn't get it. And this is one I played with my kids, and they played more than I did. But it's definitely not Yoshi's Island. And like I said, when this game came out, I was too busy playing other things. Right. But it's definitely where we get it's a stepping stone towards getting Woolly World and things like that are more kid friendly. I will say Woolly World is definitely a lot more challenging than Yoshi's Story on 64.
Yeah,
and also there's that's where they're going.
There's also Yoshi's Yarn Yoshi, whatever it's called on the Wii, which is also a pretty easy game, but like I don't know, that game had a bunch of new mechanics in it with like the whole whip thing with the No, what was the Yoshi one? Oh, Kirby's Epic Yarn.
There wasn't a Yoshi game on Wii that I know of.
You're right. You're so right.
So the first one, we used the first time we got a new Yoshi game. And two consoles, like since the N64. And you could, but like I said, you could tell it's like they took the Yoshi's Island formula and they took the like toy aesthetic of
I'm just
Yoshi's
laughing.
Story.
I'm just laughing at myself for confusing Kirby with Yoshi. It's because they're easy. Well, they're like easy platformers. So I was like, wait, so what? Like,
well, they've both gone the same direction. Like they started out being really solid platformers, and they've slowly migrated over into baby games. Except for Woolly World has platforming there for the person that's looking for it. But you could totally beat that game if you're a kid. Like my kids have all beat it. But you could definitely tell that it took a little bit of both worlds. It kind of took Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Story, put them together, and you get Woolly World. And then Crafted World is probably going back downhill. Like I don't think there was anything in it that was too challenging. Mm-hmm. In fact, I got to where I wasn't interested in it anymore. I played like halfway through it, and it was too collectathon-y for me at this point in time. So my kids played it. Like I said, these games are all becoming like games for my kids, and I'm leaning more away from them. I don't know if you played Star Allies. Did you play Star Allies?
No. I don't usually pick up these games anymore. Not for $60.
Yeah. But you're going to, because your kids are going to want to play them here soon.
Maybe. I don't know. My son is content playing Mario Kart 8 with me all the time.
I was going to say, you could probably get Crafted World for pretty cheap now.
Yeah, we'll see. If I see it for very cheap, I'll pick it up. But it's not something that I'm dying for. Yoshi's Story has some interesting stuff. So there is it's called the international version. What it really is it is a store kiosk cartridge that has been bought and sold a little bit around here. And they go for about $500. Price charting has it at $414, but I don't see any listings under $500. It has a big not for resale sticker on the front, on the cartridge, and there's no box for it.
Is that the only difference?
The cover art looks a little different, and it's a big not for resale label on it as well. So that's kind of interesting.
I wonder if it has the full game or if it's a demo.
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you guys on that one. But
sometimes
I'm just
kiosk stuff some kiosk stuff is weird. Like they're made to be demos.
Timers.
They're not
stuff.
full versions on the cartridge.
Right. And then Yoshi's Story is about a $25 game cartridge wise. So not an expensive N64 game by any stretch of the imagination, but still up there being a Mario mascot. I like this game. Like, I don't own it. I'll probably pick it up because it's from my childhood. But yeah, like we said, it's very charming, tons of charm, great music, great animation, great art, just not fun to actually play, unfortunately.
If you like collecting things, maybe.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of news to chat about here, John. Just a few thingos we're going to touch on. First, we have the announcement of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl confirmed for Nintendo Switch from the little Pokemon Direct we got.
Did you get to watch?
What?
Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. It looks great. It looks awesome. I don't mind the art style at all. I think it's a fine. They're doing remakes of 2D Pokemon games, so yeah, I'm fine with it.
The presentation went live and it was really laggy, and I was on Discord whenever it happened, and I was talking to Andros, one of the Nintendo pals over there in Nintendo Pal Land, and he was live streaming the event for reactions, and so I popped in there and hung out with him, and we talked about some of the games as they were coming about. Yeah, these are all definitely some things the two games that they announced alongside Pokemon Snap, or new Pokemon Snap, because it's got to be new, or Pokemon Snap Plus was already taken. So yeah, these two new remakes, that I hear a lot of clout about people not liking the art style, but I don't think it's that bad.
I think different. It's fine. It's indicative of the originals. It's a 3D version of the originals, and I don't know what people expected, but I don't mind it. I think people just like to complain sometimes. Did you play Diamond and Pearl back in the day?
I bought Pearl, and I didn't make it very far into it. So this will be, I'll buy it again, the remake, and I'll play through it because I missed out.
Diamond and Pearl was really, really cool. I remember when picking it up, a couple of my friends picked it up, and the last game before this one was Ruby Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, if I remember correctly. And those games used like a wireless adapter for your Game Boy Advance, which was kind of cool. But you had to carry it with you, pull it out of your bag, plug it in to actually use it. On the DS, it had wireless multiplayer and Wi-Fi built in. So this was really the first time where we got any kind of online interaction and like baked in wireless interactions with other players on your console. So you could do like 4-player battles. You could do like trading was really easy and seamless. And I just remember me and all my friends would get together and just have like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl parties, and we just hang out and play Pokemon and trade and battle.
How well did the internet portions of it work? on the DS.
It was fine. Yeah, I mean, Pokemon is not a game that's twitchy by any stretch of the imagination. It's 100% turn-based. So I never had any issues with it.
Never had like drop connections or anything. Do you remember?
I don't think so. If I did, it wasn't that big of a deal because I mean, you know, the DS. I mean, I remember even Mario Kart DS was fine.
Yeah,
like it wasn't perfect.
I played Mario Kart DS online, and I think the DS has a better Wi-Fi antenna than the Switch does. Like better range.
Yeah, I think the demand is a bit higher on the Switch too, though. I mean, but yeah, I don't remember having any issues with it, and I just have such fond memories of this game. And I think unfortunately I don't have the community in real life, like the IRL community around me as much now to enjoy these games. So I'm hoping that if y'all in the Retrologic community are going to pick it up, or in the Nintendo Dads community, we can kind of gather around and enjoy it together. That would be really fun. So that would be an ideal situation for me with these games, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I picked up Pearl originally, so I'll probably play Diamond this time and let my boy play Pearl. So
I'm the opposite. I picked up Diamond back in the day, so I'll probably do Pearl this time.
Well, there you go. You'll have to trade Pokemons.
Yeah, let's do it. Pokemans. The other piece of news we have this week is Panzer Dragoon Remake Twitter account confirmed that Panzer Dragoon 2's Y is coming this year for the Nintendo Switch, the remake. And man, dude, these remakes look so good. Like I played mine on Stadia and I was so happy with how it all turned out. It plays great. Like, unfortunately I never played the originals on Saturn, but I've always been a fan of these on-rail shooters. So yeah, hype to the max for this. Definitely a pickup for me. I'll probably pick this one up on Switch. I'm not super into Stadia as much now. It's not as portable as I'd like it to be. So this is probably a day one purchase on Switch for me when it comes out.
So what's the RPG version of Panzer Dragoon?
RPG is Saga, Panzer Dragoon Saga.
So what are the odds that we get that game remastered?
I have no way of confirming this, but the rumor has it that the source code for that game is lost. So the likelihood of getting a remake for that is low based on that rumor. Now, I could be total rumor garbage and have no bearing in reality, and I hope that they remake it. What I'm really excited for, though, is a chance to play Panzer Dragoon Orta, which was an Xbox game. Playing that again would be killer. Because that game, originating on the Xbox, takes advantage of a lot of graphical improvements and system improvements that can be remastered and made really, really great. So, that would be awesome.
Or you could go buy it for $5 and play it on the original Xbox.
I think that's an expensive one. Is
that an
it
expensive
not?
one now? I have no idea.
All those like games. Rare-ish Sega, most Xbox games, you're right. Almost all Xbox games are bargain bin trash. But I think Panzer Dragoon is one of the few that is expensive. Yeah, it's a $40 Xbox game.
Yeah, with the news of 2 being remastered, I was kind of hoping the RPG one would as well at some point, because that would be up my alley.
If they do that,
and it's really expensive.
Yeah, that price is coming down on that game.
Yeah, I know I'm not going to buy the original version, so but I'm sure I could buy it on Steam or something if I looked. I haven't looked, but definitely would like to have it somewhere else.
Yeah.
It might be one of those that's lost in time. I don't know.
That's the thing, is I think that adds credence to the rumor that I talked about, because I don't think it's ever been re-released anywhere. So,
don't
That's that.
If they want to, they can redo it. I guess. What was it? Final Fantasy 7 or 8? They lost the code to 8. They ended up having to rebuild it or find it or something. I can't remember.
I think they rebuilt it. I think they rebuilt it from like the PC version,
something like that.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Well, we're going to take a quick little breaky, and when we come back, we've got a bunch of community content to go through. Some Retro Rewind discussions happening, and 2 Neato questions. So make sure you stick around, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back and chit-chatting with us. We've got just a few little community things to talk about. First off, a Retro Rewind related announcement. If you are a fan of the Nintendo Dads, you know that they do the Dinner Table podcast every month where anybody in the Discord can come on, have a chat, enjoy some drinks with some friends. And we're going to do something similar with our Retro Rewind thing. We're going to have a community-driven podcast, a live discussion, be via Zoom chat, and that's going to happen on Friday, March 12th, starting at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to talk about nothing but Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog from beginning to end. We'll probably go for about an hour and a half, and then we will post that on our feed if it goes well. If you want to be a part of that, I'm going to be sending a registration form out to the Nintendo Dads Retro Rewind channel and the Retrologic Discord. You can find that this week. You must be a Retrologic or Nintendo Dads Discord member to be part of that. So if you're listening from elsewhere and you want to join in, you can go to my Twitter bio at Retrologic.games, join the Discord, say hi, and then jump in on the discussion. If you love Sonic the Hedgehog, you want to be part of it, you are welcome to do that. So that's that. If you want to be part of it, then do that. Poopy doops.
Enjoy that little bit of extra time to get the game completed.
Yeah, a little bit extra time. I didn't want to do it this week because I wanted to give people time to like schedule or whatever. Also, this week's pretty crazy for me, so it just works better to have it next week. But we will be choosing a new Retro Rewind game soon, so keep an ear out for that. Actually, we may be voting on it. I haven't decided yet, so that'll be fun. We have a couple of community questions to jump into here, John. And our first one this week comes from 16-Bit Wars Nomad in our Discord, a regular over there. He says, here's a crazy question. If you could go back in time and change the following, one of the following, which would it be and why? A, the Nintendo and Sony collaboration continued and the CD add-on was released for the SNES. There's a bunch of these. So why don't we talk about that one first, and then we'll go through the rest of the list. So the first one is Nintendo and Sony collaboration went through. We never got an N64. We never got a PlayStation. We got this hybrid system that I guess would have been called PlayStation, if it was released. Oh man. That's such a difficult question because Sony and Nintendo have such different ideologies that their clash was almost inevitable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I kind of wonder that if this would have, even if this partnership would have lasted, would this be another situation like the 64 disk drive where it would never even made it out of Japan? Or do you think
I mean,
because that's where the prototype was at. It was never made for US, I don't believe.
Would this have replaced the N64? Like, was this going to be their next big console? Like that's my question. Is
I think I think the N64 and this was almost developed side by side, like very little stagger. I don't think. Because I think that whenever they pulled out of this, they had already been working on the N64. And I think they just felt more comfortable with the N64, and the souring of the relationship just put a last nail in that coffin. So they just moved over to that.
Because I'm wondering, because Sega went forward with all of their add-on projects, and it hurt them quite a bit. I mean,
I was going to say
it hurt their
without
image,
success.
and it didn't really work. It was a very short-sighted kind of move that they made. So it was almost a blessing in disguise for Nintendo to not go forward with a Super Nintendo CD drive add-on. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, add-ons don't generally do. I mean, you're asking somebody to buy something extra, and then you're also splitting your player base, by having the add-on.
And it was never like a generational leap. It was always very incremental.
Yes. And you just had, with Sega, you just had this huge monstrosity of a system by the time you're
Tower
done.
of Power.
CD, CD, and then 32X on top. And yeah.
I can't. It's kind of mind-blowing how ridiculous it got over there with Sega. And then the Saturn came out, and everybody who just bought all this Genesis crap was like, wait, you just abandoned me. Mid-generation with all this stuff.
Well, 32X and Saturn were less than a year apart, weren't they?
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
Everyone's I just spent another $250 on this 32X, and now you're going to spit a Saturn out at me in less than a year.
Was it $250 for the 32X?
I think it was $200 or $250. It was somewhere around there.
That's unbelievable.
I think.
Anyway, that's really the only reference we have for how that might have gone down. So I don't know. I mean, it may have lasted for a little while, and then Sony and Nintendo were like, nobody's buying this. Let's just go ahead and not do it.
Well, that's why I asked the question of the N64 disc drive, because that was something that, they tested the waters in Japan, and it went so poorly over there that they didn't even bring it over.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. So. I imagine it probably would not have done very well had they done it. So that's
because that one. A lot of the mature games that made PlayStation what they were would not have made it over to that console being owned by Nintendo at the time.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, Nintendo. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of mature titles on the 64 to speak of. I mean, I don't know. You had Resident Evil and GoldenEye and that kind of stuff. I don't know. Question B is, the 3DO, Atari Jaguar, Philips CDI were successful and became dominant in the video game world. Wow. So wow. I think that's such a hard one. I think that what we've seen through the history of gaming consoles is that 3 major players is about all that the market can stand, at least at least through history. It may be different now, we don't know, because there's still only really 3 major players.
Well, at this time there was only 2.
Yeah, you're right, major players for sure. So one of these 3 may have been able to make an edge. And I think if any of them had a chance, it would have been Atari. Because
it's so bad though. Just the controller for that console is almost unusable.
Yeah, I know.
I think the 3DO may have seen more success. In fact, I think it did see more success than the Jaguar did.
The only reason I say that is because Atari already had kind of a brand name that people associated with gaming.
That hated it because it crashed everything.
Maybe, but so there was still nostalgia for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Lynx and then the Jaguar just it's plummeted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not really familiar enough with any of these to know how that would have gone down.
I just have a hard time. I have a hard time seeing any of these as success stories. Yeah. So I don't know. This is definitely not the one I would choose if I was to go back and change something in time.
For sure.
In fact, this one here, this might have caused the second crash of gaming if these three were the successful consoles of that time period.
Yeah, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Exactly.
Option C is Sony used regular SD cards in the Vita and actually supported it. That's an interesting one. Because to my understanding, Sony is the one that decided to stop supporting the Vita and basically killed it before its time.
Well, that's what they're saying. If you could go back in time and change that, because the SD card was a big deal. You had to buy a proprietary memory card for that, and they were outrageous. I mean, they still are. Like, I think about buying one every once in a while, and then I'm like, man, if I want to buy more than a like 16 gig card, it's like $50-$60.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
So I'm saying it's a quarter or a third of the price of the console. And they were that way when they came out. They were expensive. So yeah, if you had an SD card option, like if they would have just went micro SD like any normal person would have went, instead of trying to make money off of a memory card, and threw a little bit more support that way. Like I think they were too busy supporting the PlayStation 3, honestly, and the 4 to take on. It's very hard to juggle those two things. Nintendo has always done fairly well at it. But if you notice, like when their handhelds are succeeding, their consoles kind of dip, and then whenever their consoles when their consoles were succeeding, their handhelds dip.
And I think the trap that Sony always fell into. I feel like they were trying to replicate their home console experiences on the go. And when you do that, you're pouring development cost into handheld games, which are A, cheaper on the shelf, and B, probably didn't really sell as well as your home console counterparts. So, and what Nintendo did is Nintendo would never try to imitate what they're doing on their home console on their handheld. They would do something totally different, or they would have some kind of supplemental content that was different. Like even with Metroid Prime, they had hunters, but that was a totally different experience, like totally different. It controlled differently. It looks different. It was a different play style.
Nintendo makes a hardware that does something, and then they make games for it. The PlayStation model for their handhelds is always, we're going to try to put out the same game that's on the console, but a lesser version of it. Basically like the Wii. You get the Wii version of the game on your PSP.
Mm-hmm. And the PSP was more successful because there was a lot of
third-party development
content. Yeah, third-party development and exclusive content from Sony too, that you couldn't get on their home console. And they were a little bit trying to imitate the PS2 at that time, but there was enough exclusive content to kind of push it forward. You know what I mean? Like people wanted that kind of thing. By the time the PSP came out, PS3 was on the horizon, and PS2 was in the past, like as far as graphics wise. But you're right about one thing. You're right about the cost of that kind of hardware in a handheld being prohibitive for most consumers, and which is why the DS just destroyed that system. Because it was
didn't have to buy
very capable.
Of all things, Nintendo. The one thing that they never do make you have some kind of proprietary memory card since like the GameCube. Since going forward with the DS and the Wii, you've always been able to use a SanDisk, micro media card of some sort, be it SD card or micro SD card. They've never made you go buy a proprietary memory system after that. Mm-hmm. And Sony has just continued to hold on to that mindset that, hey, you're going to buy our stuff. It's still today. What's on the well, and Xbox does it too, but you can't just go buy a hard drive for put in your PS5. Or they don't want you to anyway. All the things that even with the PS4, you can get an external, but you can't, it's modding it to change out your internal hard drive.
Yeah.
Xbox has that new memory card thing that you buy. It's like a little hard drive, plugs in on the X. All proprietary.
They gotta make their money, I guess. I have no love for handheld PlayStation systems, so this is not the one for me personally. Like, I love that people have love for them. I'm just not that guy. This next one, I think, is the one that I would go with because I love my Dreamcast. Option D is the Dreamcast was released with a DVD player and dominated its generation.
I guess we'd have to argue what generation was the Dreamcast in.
It technically speaking is PS2, GameCube, Xbox generation.
Yeah, it's a 128-bit system.
Yeah, it was early to the game. It had the same kind of architecture. It had online. And it was arguably more powerful than the PS2. It just... Yeah.
I don't think that... I think this would have killed the PS2, actually. Because if you look at PS2, the majority of them at the time were bought because it was a DVD player.
Yeah. It was a cheap DVD player. Literally, that was it.
Dreamcast beat them to the punch and developed, the DVD player inside as well. I think it would have easily done it. The same thing that the PS2 did.
So I don't know that Sega could have gotten away with a DVD player at the time of launch. PS2 was a 2001 console, I want to say, 2001, 2002. And so my question is, okay, let's say the Sega Dreamcast and the PS2 launch simultaneously, like same year. They both have DVD compatibility, same launch titles that were available. Can you name a single PS2 launch title? I don't think I can. Wetrix or whatever, the puzzle game.
Was Gran Turismo a launch title?
Okay. Nope.
Yeah, I don't. PlayStation 2.
Fantavision, Armored Core 2, Dead or Alive 2, ESPN. None of these are system sellers. The Dreamcast launches with Sonic Adventure. Hold on. Oops. Sorry, I put the word launch in my Google
Sonic
search.
Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure, Power Stone, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL Blitz 2000.
Yeah, it's already better.
Just to name a couple. So hell yeah, Dreamcast launch titles kicked Sony's butt. Online built into the system, right? You don't have to buy an adapter for it. It actually used it.
The only thing I could think of is that might derail this whole thing, even if the Dreamcast had a DVD player. It's just the fact that the PlayStation 1 had developed a crazy user base by the time the PS2 came out. That's a really big factor in what drove PS2 sales the way it did, because
backwards compatibility.
Well, and PS1 was a killer, man. It doubled sales of the 64. Mm-hmm. Saturn was non-existent at that time.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people were, as much as awesome as the Dreamcast was, I think other than it launching too early and missing its window, I think it was just the souring of the grapes, man. You had too many people that were upset about, like we just talked about, buying a 32X and then having to go buy a Saturn in the same year. And then the Saturn also not living up to the expectations and game development, anything like that. They just didn't have a presence in that generation.
I totally hear you. Yeah.
So I don't know that as much as I wish that adding a DVD player to the Dreamcast would have made it dominate that generation. I don't know that would. I don't know that it would exactly do that. It might help, but it might just been slowing the death.
Right. My only rebuttal to your thought, because it's totally true. The PlayStation destroyed, the PS2 destroyed, and people were attached to those brands. You know, if you had a PS1 and you could play your PS1 games on your PS2, like, well, yeah, I'm gonna buy a PS2, obviously. The only rebuttal I have to that is if Sega could pull off a Wii U to Switch situation where they realized that a lot of people did not play any of the Sega Saturn games that they had, even though there were some really solid games, some really great games, actually. There is precedent for generational flip-flops, where the dominant console flips, right? So with that, and if they leaned into their really great Saturn library of games and kind of was able to sell the prospect of like, look, we know you didn't play these games. They're really great though. Let's entice people with some easy money, right? Like, we already have these games developed. Let's do a little bit of a remaster to get them looking good, or a collection on the Dreamcast. Because I don't think it would take much to convince people that the Dreamcast was the better console. 4 controller ports, online built in. You know what I mean? The VMU was such a cool thing. Like, it had a lot going for it. So I think it's like, we'll never know, right? We'll never know what the market would have been like or what people would have bought. But I think that there's a pretty solid argument there for Sega flipping that generation in its favor. Although I totally hear what you're saying. Sony fans are Sony fans. So,
well, and as much as you know, I'm a Nintendo guy, I can't ignore the fact that Sony is kind of blown away 3 of the 4 generations they existed in. You know, they definitely know how to market and sell games. Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, Sega was already kind of on the down and out before that. I think the Dreamcast just kind of finished it off. But, and this is coming from somebody that bought a Dreamcast. I never did own a PlayStation 2.
I did. So, I had a Dreamcast and I had an N64.
We're the outliers of that situation.
Yeah, I guess.
I had GameCube and Dreamcast.
Ditto.
And I eventually had a Xbox. But again, there was another thing too. They had the introduction of an Xbox into that. Mm-hmm.
That was so. Sega was already working with Microsoft, though. So the Xbox is basically the Dreamcast too.
Same generation though.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying.
The Dreamcast would have ostensibly replaced the Xbox.
That could be a possibility in this scenario that we're building. Yeah. Could have been those 3 as the console generation. Dreamcast just lived on instead of being taken over by Xbox, and then maybe we have a Sega 360. Who knows?
Before we move on, I do want to say one more thing, because I just watched on my trip. I watched the 2-part documentary where they interviewed developers from some of the like top Dreamcast games internally. And they all kind of talked about the rise and fall of Dreamcast and like the games they developed and all of that. And one of the things that they talked about, which I found very interesting, was that Dreamcast games, if you kind of look at the whole scope of their games against what PS2, GameCube, Xbox, N64, PS1 were doing, they were very experimental and very arcade heavy. you had stuff like Space Channel 5 and Seaman, right? And like Rez and you're looking at these games, you're like, cool, like these are really cool experiences. They're different. But is that what the gaming landscape in general wants from a game? You know what I mean? Like in the next couple of years, you'd have things like Grand Theft Auto. You had games like Ocarina of Time already out. So like the gaming landscape was changing into a more like RPG, open world, shooter heavy landscape, when Sega was still like in their wonderland, like creating these crazy experiences for people. And that's what they attributed the death of Dreamcast to. Not so much like competition from Sony, but really what they were lacking internally, development-wise. That was a fascinating documentary, and I expect everybody to go on YouTube. It's free. Go on YouTube and look for A Dreamcast. 3 words, A Dreamcast is the name of the documentary. It's 2 parts, and it's so interesting. If you like retro gaming, you like gaming history, go watch it. And that's all I'll say about that. So, part E of this question that we're still in, it's like such a long question, is the Atari Lynx sold more than Game Boy or Game Gear. I don't want that to happen. The Atari Lynx wasn't a good portable system. It was the size of a brick and about as heavy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can't see that one happening either. Game Boy was just so dominant. Like,
yeah, it was cheap. It had the games. It just, yeah.
Yep. So I think out of all these, I'd probably still want to pick D. Yeah. And hope that the Dreamcast could live with the, because I really would like to see what other games could have been developed for the Dreamcast if it would have lasted longer. We kind of barely even got a 2-year life cycle out of it.
Yeah, about 2. And we did see a little bit of what was to come, right, with Xbox. We got Jet Set Radio Future, we got Sega GT, we got Panzer Dragoon Orta, we got Shenmue 2. So it wasn't like we never saw.
Yeah, but to me, you have to have a different mindset developing a game for your own console than you do developing as a third party for another console. I think we would have got some more new IP, because I mean all the things you mentioned were basically just more sequels to IP that already existed through Sega, because they knew they could get it out and sell copies because it already existed. I think we would have got some crazier new stuff.
Last week we had Adam talking about Gun Valkyrie, so there's that. There's your new IP.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Nintendo did get some things from Sega as well, because I don't think you couldn't play Sonic Adventure 2 on PlayStation, right?
I think that was GameCube exclusive, and Sonic Heroes was on everything, and the director's cut of Sonic Adventure, which is really great,
and Monkey Ball.
And Monkey Ball, yeah, wow, Monkey Ball, heck yeah, dude. So we saw a little bit of that from Sega, but I totally hear you. I would have loved. I'm also going with D, and actually, 16-Bit Wars Nomad also chose D. He said, as a Sega guy, I would have picked D. The Dreamcast was an awesome system with great games and was as powerful as the PS2, if not more. But it was hindered by its CD drive and poor decisions by Sega. Runner-up would have been C. Sony had a great system with the Vita, but expensive memory cards and lack of support doomed it. I look forward to hearing from everyone else. That's what he has to say.
One more thing about C there, the one he picked. I don't think it would have mattered because Sony didn't know that Nintendo Switch was going to come out, and it would have killed Vita anyway, no matter how successful it would have became.
Oh man!
I don't think that I don't think an SD card and a little bit more support would have been able to stop the thing that is Nintendo Switch.
Juggernaut that it is now.
Yeah.
Just
I don't think it would have had as much effect.
you launch a system with Breath of the Wild and it just is gonna eat your lunch. Like, I'm sorry, it's gonna destroy. But I'm not a PlayStation fan, so that, you know, that's my take on that.
Yep.
Whew. Quite the question there, John. Yeah, that was a good one. Thanks for that one, dude. I appreciate the nice long questions. Let's get some more long ones in here. We got one more question though from our buddy Andros over at the Nintendo Pals podcast, which is one of our favorite little podcasts we like to plug here. If you're a Nintendo fan and you like to hear a couple of cool dudes, some friends chat about Nintendo and what's going on over there, you owe it to yourself to go check them out. They are called the Nintendo Pals, and we like them very much. Old Andrew and Micah over there. We've both been guests on that podcast, and we love doing it. And they've been guests over here. Although we haven't had Micah on, have we? We need to have that guy on.
Yeah, we need to wait for a Metroid-centric episode of some sort.
All right, what?
Maybe whenever
listen.
Maybe whenever we do go to discuss Prime 2, we can bring him on and he can talk about it.
Yeah, he's a Prime fan, right? We can get him on. Let's do it. Calling you out, Micah. So, Andros's question. Retrologic. Oh, sorry. Oops. The question is, given the new Pokemon Legends announcement, what retro game would you like to see reimagined as a new formula or style? Another example would be Kid Icarus with the Uprising reboot. Oh, yes. I gave my answer in chat, which is the same answer I always give, which is I want a Starlink style Star Fox game, open universe, on rails shooting on planets, different vehicles, all the characters. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think I would have to go with like I want to see something done with F-Zero other than a racing game. Like even if it has to be some kind of, not like a
okay, what if you had
like Crazy Taxi or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if you had like a Burnout Paradise style open city?
Yeah,
where you're driving around in your Blue Falcon at 1,000 miles an hour. You know, what is Captain Falcon doing driving around in the city? What's he doing? What's his mission?
He's secretly a detective, and he's like busting people.
All right, got it. I like it. I like it's GTA in Mute City. I like it.
Yes. Yeah, Mute City version. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something, I think they could do something with F-Zero other than just the same racing game, because they essentially become the same thing, just better graphics as they went forward.
Man, GX is so good. I popped it in recently and I was like just amazed at that game. How good it is.
No, they're good racing games, but
yeah,
I don't think Nintendo wants to compete with Mario Kart anymore, because you can't. And that's why I think that they should do something different with it. Even if, I don't know, add him to Metroid somehow.
Whoa.
Captain Falcon.
Whoa. Wow. I don't know about all that, but I like your dreaming, John. That's good. I like it. I'm not convinced, but I'm just glad you're thinking outside the box. Although, you know what? I would take a racing game that's like Mario Kart, but like adult Mario Kart. And you've got Star Fox in the R-Wing, you've got Samus in the gunship, you've got the Blue Falcon. You know what I mean?
Captain Falcon.
You've got like mature.
The Blue Falcon.
You've got mature
got
Mario Kart. That's what I would take. I would take that. I would take that. You've got that's what I would take.
Yeah, who else could you throw in? I have no idea. There's not any other I don't know, some advanced war characters or something in tanks.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have to go third party with some of that, because beyond that, like, yeah, I don't even know, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Some Pilot Wings guy with a hang glider or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's grown up Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you guys for listening to the Retrologic podcast. That's going to just about do it for us today. If you have any comments or questions for us, you can certainly follow me on Twitter at Retrologic.games to get all kinds of cool updates and giveaways. And then head on over to my bio on Twitter and click that Discord link to jump into the Discord and get even deeper into the Retrologic universe. We chat about our collections, about news, about the show. We have things going on there daily. We have Wallpaper Wednesday, where I make 4K custom wallpapers for everyone. We have Free Stuff Friday, giveaways every week. We have streaming on Monday nights, and we chat about it. I mean, there's just tons of stuff going on over there. So you got to get over there and hang out with us. Come on now. You're listening to the podcast. You might as well get deep in it.
Yeah, bring it.
Bring it.
Bring it over.
Things. Send the questions for the podcast. Send the memes, all the stuff, all of it.
Prices Retro lists.
Yes, Prices Retro lists. There's so much you can do to interact with us, and we want all of it. We love it. Send it. John, is there anything else that you have for us this week?
I think we've covered it. I think we've almost got our first 2-hour podcast somehow.
Oh man, we're so close. And you know what? I always wanted to keep our podcast short because I like short podcasts. There was just so much to chat about this week, and it was all good. It was all good stuff. I'm glad we did it. Well, thanks for listening to the Retrologic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, you can check me out on Twitter at Retrologic.games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. Link is in my Twitter bio. You can find all of the Retrologic stuff over on our website at Retrologic.games. So, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Bye now.